I'm mad at you and I'm going to put out this sex tape if you don't give me 20K. And so they took out a home equity loan so that they could access 20K and sent it to Diddy. But the other part of that story that I noticed, she was a recording artist at Bad Boy for at least 4 years when the $20,000 extortion request was made. And her mom takes out a home equity loan. She was not liquid enough to come up with $20,000 in an absolute emergency as a recording artist. Clearly, she's kept with no money. So this is how he's coercing her. Because you get, as a recording artist, you're going to get money when your album comes out, right? Like generally, they give you an advance to go make the album. And then when you come back for the next album, they give you another check. So if you're not putting out albums, you're not touring, you're not getting any money. So he's keeping her in this economic prison.
It sounds like you don't need the freak offs to make the case here. Like, is that right? It's because a lot of this stuff.
The freak off is the center of the whole thing. The government's case is that the whole operation is to get the freak offs to happen,
right,
and to facilitate them, to make them happen, to control Cassie so she stays in the organization, and then to clean up after them, like in this situation when we needed to get that tape. Okay, the chief of staff and Diddy and Diddy's corporate money are getting that back for him. I think we started with Cassie, and yesterday the government put 10 sex tapes, including Cassie, into evidence under seal. And I think that what they're doing is they're preparing for the end of their case to be them showing these videos to the jury. The public and the gallery will not see them.
Wow.
But the jury will see them, I think. And that, I assume, will be quite devastating for the defense.
Because my understanding is that, I mean, they have him dead to rights on all kinds of, I mean, he beat the shit out of her on multiple occasions. They've got all kinds of witnesses. They have another woman who came forward and said he raped me too. You have the Kid Cudi incident where he, reportedly like bombed his car out of jealousy and was in his house and, messing with his, the Christmas presents that he had wrapped up to give his family, like just total insane, unhinged, violent behavior. My understanding of what Diddy's side is prepared to argue is basically like, that's domestic violence, that's not sex trafficking. And so is that where they're headed? And is that why the freak-offs, which entailed, bringing these male sex workers in and coercing Cassie and all of these things, is that why that becomes so central?
Well, yes, the freak-offs are the central sex trafficking act that all of this is built to construct. The Kid Cudi story is actually quite devastating for Diddy because arson is also a predicate offense that proves racketeering, that like you use to build toward a racketeering case. So
to say this is a criminal enterprise, not just individual acts of violence, which is not what this case is fundamentally about.
Right. And people keep going back to the notion of like, well, it's not a criminal enterprise like The Sopranos, which overtly tries to commit crime as its main job, right? Lawyers have said to me, well, the money's going the wrong way. They're not making any money from the crimes they're committing. Fine. But like the sex trafficking, Cassie is coerced and controlled by violence, by blackmail. I'll release the tape, by economic means. If you don't do what I say, I will not put out your album. And by violence, that Diddy has bodyguards who act like soldiers who go and retrieve her from wherever she is if he doesn't know where she is in any given moment. So she's stuck in this world. And she tells one of his assistants, I can't get out. So she's trapped in this thing and thus used for sex trafficking, or she is sex trafficked and used sexually week after week after week. She says the freak-offs are like 2 to 3, 4 days every week for like 9, 10 years. Like, I don't even know how a person could function in that way when you're having that much every week. And it's like, where she's like, we're not sleeping. We're just doing drugs and staying up for 48, 72 hours and like.
Well, and there's a horrible scene where I believe they're on a plane and he's beating the shit out of Cassie in the bedroom. And there's all these people around. And she says, don't you all see what's happening? And one of the other, he was young at the time, 23 years old or something, assistants who was on the plane, who then goes on to, ultimately resign, But he watches all this happen, and nobody does a thing. Nobody does a thing to try to intervene and protect her from this ongoing violence and horrific abuse.
It's not, and you're not saying this, it's not domestic violence. Domestic violence is happening in this situation, but this is not a domestic violence case. He is using his power and his resources as a person who controls a massive corporation to control her. And that is why he's able to have her sexually every week and to beat her up, and she cannot leave. So already the 10-album deal and the refusal to release any of your music already controls her. Plus, I beat you up all the time. I pay for your apartment. So if, I will extort you. I am blackmailing you. Because early on, he's like, if you don't do everything that I say, I will release these tapes. I mean, one of the most horrific moments in the trial to me was when Capricorn said that they were arguing. She was arguing with Diddy about why she didn't have a boyfriend. And Diddy summoned Cassie into the room and said, sit down. And she did. And stand up. And she did. And then he said, turn around. And she did. And he said, y'all bitches don't want to do that. That's why you don't have a man. But this is the level of control and humiliation that he's willing to dole out to her at any given moment.
And Tori, what did they do in cross with Cassie to try to undermine her character? And, there's always this question of the perfect victim and the attempt to say, she was into it and she liked it and she was participating and all of these sorts of things. What did they do on that front?
I mean, they exposed the complexity of trying to adjudicate what happened in a domestic violence situation. They talked about Cassie doing a lot of drugs. They talked about Diddy being jealous and being bipolar. And they talked about Cassie suggesting that she actually liked it. And they showed text messages of her basically saying, I can't wait to freak off. LOL, I'm always down for a freak off. Now, she's consistently saying in general ways, yes, I want to do this. I'm so happy about doing this. She's not saying it in very specific ways. Like if we really wanted to go have dinner, we would be talking about like, yes, I can't wait to eat the sushi or whatever it is. She's not discussing it like that, but you can take it like, does he know that she doesn't want to do this? Because when he asks her, she says yes. But she also says, if you read it critically, she'll be like, yes, but I want to spend alone time with you, or I can't wait to be with you. So she wants the alone time. She loves him. And I think that's another way that he's coercing and controlling her through love. And she keeps trying to get to the good part of their relationship, which is very typical in a DV situation, that you think maybe we can erase or get away from the bad part and get back to the good part, which of course is impossible.
And that's why I was asking about the centrality of the freak-offs to the actual charges, because if a jury comes away and says, all right, look, we've got these text messages, we think they're weird, but she seemed to not object, so he didn't physically force her to participate in them, would there still be enough evidence of all these other crimes that even if a jury wants to be like, you know what, she participated in these willingly, she's an adult, that's on her, but there's all these other obvious crimes, extortion and violence and...
It's a great lawyer question. I haven't passed the bar yet. That's the one thing Kim Kardashian has over me. But here's the thing, that the government has to prove that he conspired. It's a conspiracy to RICO. It's not a RICO charge. They have to prove that he conspired to commit 2 of this long list of offenses. And we have heard 8 or 9 or 10 of them in this trial. So when they go to summation, they're going to be like, look, we have proven this. We need 2, and there's already a ton. And I named 3 in one story. Right. There's 2 or 3. There's 3 alone in the Kid Cudi story because he kidnaps Capricorn within that. So I mean, there's multiple moments when the jury can be like, ooh, he's hitting a lot of the predicate offenses that prove that this is a criminal. Somebody made the point. People keep saying, how could it be a RICO if there's only one person? imagine a mobster with no lieutenants. He doesn't trust anybody